back with My Hero Academia. Previously, we saw that even without his quirk, Tomura Shigaraki, and his genetic manipulation is a force to be reckoned with. Meanwhile, Izuku Midoriya finds a danger within Himiki Toga, as his danger sense doesn't work against her, because she isn't out to hurt him. She's just expressing her love. What'll happen next? Let's find out. Narration. Let's see. My Hero Academia number 348. Unrequited. Oh my. Let's see. Izuku Midoriya was the ninth wielder of One for All, and the key to this particular battle. Since the advent of the extraordinary One for All had been the only power in Japan, no, the entire world, that the shadowy mastermind All for One obsessed over. And now, this boy was the vessel for that power. He had encountered Himiko Toga a number of times by this point, but since she had never come right out and expressed her affections in words, he never realized the way she felt about him. And Izuku says, "Did you say boyfriend? What are you talking about?" Because for all his triumphs, he was still just a damn nerd. Oh god. And Toga says, "I loved you since the moment I first saw you. You were covered in blood, and you looked just like my first crush. You're so cool, Izuku." And then she has this horrifying look on her face. "I wanted to be you, so let me suck some blood." Oh god. And Izuku says, "Boyfriend? Like a guy you take to the amusement park for a date? Who you hold hands with? Who you split a crate with?" And I love how Uraraka looks shook. Like, Deku is really thinking about the definition of what a boyfriend is. And Toga says, "For me, turning into someone else is all about love. It's the only way I can feel satisfied." And then someone shouts, "Second wave incoming! Watch out!" As the Nomu rains down destruction, and as she disappears into the water foam, the splashing waves, she says, "Tell me, hero, what do you want to do with it to me?" I mean, I know what some people want to do with you, Toga. It is, not really, G-rated, as it were. But Uraraka thinks about what Toga says in that moment is the same thing she said during the whole villain war. "What do you want to do to me?" The same words Toga spoke to her back then. Deku stays on guard, thinking another attack's coming. She can cloak her own presence. If I lose her in the chaotic battle, she'll be one step ahead. And Deku responds to Toga, "I don't know. I always wanted to be strong like All Might. So I get how you feel, Toga. Like how trying to be like someone else can feel fulfilling." Then he thinks, "She doesn't trigger my danger sense, so in a way this is the worst matchup I could ask for." He then tells Toga, "But I can't imagine wanting to share the same heart and mind as him, and I would never want to hurt someone I love." And Toga has this sad look on her face, and she thinks back to what her parents said. "Why can't you just be normal? Act like a normal little girl." And when Skeptic was telling her about her life story, commented how it was sad, and how Uraraka said, if you're gonna live as you please, then you also have to live with the consequences." And then she has this almost disdainful look on her face, while in her eyes she says, "Izuku, you're just like Ochako, and just like my mom and dad." And I don't know if is it both Deku and Uraraka who say, "Thoughts of Himiko Toga popped into my head." And Toga, as she goes in on the offensive with all of her upgraded bladed suction devices, she says, "You think that heroes and those they protect are the only ones who count as real people. So people like you and I are destined to remain apart." Deku thinks. She looks so sad. No, it was the conversation Uraraka had with Deku about what Toga said. Deku manages to guard the front from Toga's weaponry, but the blades, approaches from behind with her blades. But Uraraka comes in saying, "Not so fast, Himiko Toga." And Uraraka grapples with her and says, "Ever since we met that day, I've been thinking hard about you." And Toga says, "Oh, you haven't been on my mind. Not anymore. I thought maybe I had a shot with Izuku, but nope. I'm over all that now. Deku cries out while sending his black whip to Uraka, and as Toga's weapons come from behind Uraka, she says, "The world rejected me, so I reject the world." Ochako. It's really sad. Uraka notices the weapons coming from behind, but then Toga brings out her blade. And as Toga slices into Uraka's back, she says, "I was so sure you'd understand me. After all, you and I both fell for the same." But before she can finish, Sue manages to come in with a double flying drop kick to Toga, as well as Deku's black whip managing to pull Toga away from Uraka. And Deku calls out Froppy. You still just can't call her Froppy. Or Sue. Sue says, "Sorry it took me so long." Deku says, "Are you hurt?" Uraka says, "Nah, just a scratch. Better get that knife, my blood's on it." Froppy says, "She's the least predictable of all of our opponents, so we warped her to an isolated island. Too bad that plan backfired." Toga cuts through the black whip and directs herself at Sue. Froppy says, "Get going, Deku. Chatting about romance here is the last thing you need to be doing." Another volley of attacks come from the Nomu up above. Sue tells Deku, "We'll deal with Himiko Toga as planned. Uravity has gone up against her more times than anyone, so she'll take the lead here, and we'll get the job done." And Uraka turns to Deku and says, "Get Shigaraki." And Deku remembers to the conversation where Uraka said, "I guess both of us are kind of weird." Is Deku realizing the way in which Toga considers herself the same as Uraka? I think he is. And Uraka gives Deku a smile saying, "Good luck." And as Toga gets up, ready to fight again, she says, It's so hard to live being me, even though I'm full of all this love." And Uraka cries out, "Go now!" And Deku sets out to get to the battle against Shigaraki. I guess that's it. Honestly, it's kind of sad. So, Toga has kind of given up on her love of Deku too. All these things that possibly could have pulled her back from the brink. I mean, yeah, she's hurt so many people. All of it very unforgivable, but this is a broken person who was never able to get the proper help she really needed from society. Everyone just kept telling her to be normal, should have been normal. But nobody ever really considered what normal was for her and how she might be able to cope. Was there actually a way for Toga to ever cope in the real world? Could she have been considered normal? Or have found some version of normal that could have allowed her to live as a person? It really is unfortunate that Deku wasn't able to get through to her. But it's really been set up for a while that Uraka and Froppy are basically the only ones who really have a chance of really dealing with Toga. Deku's already trying to save one impossible to save person. Toga would just honestly be too much for him. For all his powers, Toga's just too tricky to deal with. But I really do have to wonder, will Toga live through this battle? Or will she just be another casualty? I couldn't imagine her dying, but there's plenty of other characters who I never imagined dying who have died throughout the course of this series. Man, that sad look Toga had on her face, like she was finally understanding that, yeah, nobody really understands me. Nobody ever will understand me. Unfortunately, I've been in that place before, but I was never in the same state as Toga. What do you think? Do you think Toga could be saved, or do you think she's just too far of a lost cause? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, subscribe, that way you don't miss out on the next one. Or don't. I ain't your daddy, but I still love you like one. Until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye-bye.